Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing the Fires of Heaven, Book 5 of The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. And before we get into that though, as usual, there's a lot of plots, twists and turns and surprises and shocks and all of that stuff, so we'll get into that in a moment. But as always, if you could please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. It's free for you and helps me out a lot. So if you could do that, that would be cool. So let's go into the Fires of Heaven here, and we'll start with the book. The thing that the book doesn't have is Perrin and Fail. So if you were looking to get more of a movement into their storyline and what happens with them dealing with Two Rivers and the Trollocs and the Myrtle and all that, you don't see, like what happened um, in the Shadow Rises. They're not here. They get a break in the Fires of Heaven. And what is here is we start to see the Forsaken moving a little more. They're planning and scheming and what they're trying to do for themselves and for the Dark One, for that matter. But mainly it follows Rand, Elaine, Egwene, Matt, and Nynaeve. And there will be some spoilers, I guess, and there is another character that gets thrown in, obviously, from the Aiel side, which is Avinta, who is kind of an interesting mix here, going back to that whole vision of men seeing three women for Rand, that Elaine was going to have to share Rand with two other women, and we know one of them is men. It just kind of comes out, and then Avinda, we just see it's kind of that's what it's going to be. So anyway, the book deals a lot with the dream world. Again, I'm not going to try to say it because I know I butcher it every time I'm reading the book. But learning the dream world, and Elaine and Nynaeve, they end up getting to Saladar, which is the haven for the Aes Sedai who decided not to follow Elaida after Siwan was deposed and stilled and supposedly executed, but we know obviously she's not. Logain is kind of telling his story, so there's that element. The Nynaeve is still trying to figure out how to channel her being a wilder. She has a block, and she's able to channel the one power when she is angry. That's about the only time that she is able to channel. Elaine has no problem whatsoever, anytime, anywhere. She can do it. So one of the main things that this storyline looks at is Rand and Ravin, who is the one who is basically ruining Camelin. He's the one that sort of drove Morghese out by controlling her. And she leaves, obviously, in the last book, she leaves with a party of a few people and tries to build the noble houses. When Rand finds out that Morghese is dead, and I mean, again, you gotta remember this is kind of a medieval set, so it's not like we get they get the information as fast as we do. Sometimes it can take weeks, months for information to travel, for parties to travel left and right. Even though Rand's got this cool little thing where he makes a gateway and boom, goes through and ends up somewhere else. But what he does is he makes it a personal vendetta to go after Ravin after this for Elaine. And this is probably one of the most interesting facets of the book, because they cross into the world of dreams, which is where Nynaeve is. And Nynaeve actually has an interesting, a very smart concept, because she ends up getting Moghedien. in Dream World for her, and Nynaeve can't channel because she's always afraid, and that's something I'm still getting used to because Nynaeve was always that very I'm gonna give you my opinion and that's the only way it's going to be, and now she second guesses herself a lot. She's always afraid, and she's afraid of Moghedien, which is probably not a bad thing to be, but she is at least not afraid enough to know how to snare Moghedien into serving her in the dream world. And what she does is Elaine has been looking at the Edain from the Cian Chen. When you place on an Aes Sedai, the collar, and you other person wears it on the wrist, they can control the channeling and channel through the person wearing the collar. So in the dream world, Nynaeve actually envisions Moghedien in an Edain, and that way now she has control. And she wanted revenge because Bergetta, who is one of the heroes from the Horn of Valere, ends up dying in the dream world. And Elaine has to actually bond her to save her. So even though Elaine is not Aes Sedai, she bonds Bergetta as a warder to save her. So I've kind of gone a little off, but anyway, now going to the battle scene, and if you haven't read it yet, I would suggest probably finishing reading it and then coming back and watching this video. But well, before I get to Rand, there's one other thing, and and did anybody see the Lanfear thing coming, where she slashes Kadir's throat, blows up the wagons, and then is basically trying to kill Avinta because she slept with Rand? And who saw Moraine coming in to take her out, to take her into one of the portals before it melts. And at least up to this point now, we think Moraine is dead. Surprise. I mean, there was a prequel all about her, and now she was a pretty major influence in the first 4 or 5 books of the series, and now she's gone. So that was a real surprise. Though I will go out on a very small limb and say I don't think she's dead. I don't think so. I would be very surprised if she doesn't come back. I don't know what book she'll come back in, but I don't think she's dead right now. I just don't. Even though Lan lost the connection with her, but these gateways and portals, we saw that you could end up in alternate worlds. This world could have happened if X, Y, and Z happened. She could be in there, and Lan can't pick her up. So, question for you, and I'd love to see your reactions in the comments below, is how did you feel when Moraine died? Were you saddened? Were you shocked? Did not feel anything. I mean, I was more shocked, but I wasn't really sad. The one that I felt sorry for was Lan, because he spent basically 20 years being the warder for Moraine. And what Moraine did, and I think it's something behind his back, really, and something that I don't think was very cool to begin with, but she made the warding bond, go beyond Moraine onto a green sister. So if Moraine were to die, Lan would still not be free from being a warder. His bond to Moraine would be done. But Moraine has bonded him now to somebody else, which doesn't usually happen, but she decided to do that. What this does is it keeps Lan from going after and trying to find Nynaeve, who he loves and she loves him. Instead, he goes off, leaves Rand and Karhine, and goes off to find the sister that he's now going to have to be a warder to. And that's the last we see of him. So now, going to the big battle. Rand doesn't start off very well with Robin. Robin is a pretty powerful guy, of the Forsaken or the Chosen, as they like to call themselves. But Nynaeve comes in. They somehow find themselves in the palace in Camelin. And she sees Rand, and obviously, when you put yourself in the world of dreams in the flesh, it's not a good thing. I mean, you can die just in the world of dreams, period, even if your body's not in there. But if you go in the flesh, you lose part of yourself, it is said. But Nynaeve comes to the rescue without Rand even knowing it. Rand is basically on the ground being attacked by these like fish with teeth, kind of piranha-ish, I guess. And Robin's pretty much ready to finish him off. And Nynaeve throws this like huge. She channels from Moghedien and herself, and channels this huge ball of flame fire at him. And even though, I mean, this kind of says, I guess, where Moghedien's whole power is, that it's not very strong. That's why she hides all the time, because it doesn't really phase Robin. But what it does is it releases the thing, the weave that's on Rand, and he's able to compose himself and hurl a huge ball of balefire that just like totally throws Robin into non-existence. And it's so strong that it's like he almost never ever existed. So there is a lot going on. This book clocks in at almost 1,000 pages, but it's really, again, really good. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads. I know I'm probably not doing this book some justice. I'm leaving some stuff out just because I don't want to make these things too long, but I do try to at least try to cover the most important aspects. But I mean, if you were to try to cover everything that goes on in these books, it would just take, you'd be sitting here talking for probably an hour or more, easily. But 5 stars, again, on Goodreads. Again, I recommend it so far with the whole series. The setup in the beginning can be a little slow and a little painful at times, but at some point it all comes together, and usually within those last 200-300 pages, it really just kind of pops and comes right at you. So I definitely recommend it. 5 stars on Goodreads, and yeah, about it. So as always, please like, subscribe, press the notification button. Like I said, it's free for you, and it helps me out a whole lot. And thank you for the support, and God bless, and let's keep YouTube literate. And until next time, bye-bye.